Hello and welcome to the Great Things Tampa Bay podcast, the podcast about great eats, great places, and great people in the greater Tampa Bay area. I'm your host, Kyle Sasser, a Tampa Bay native and realtor. Make sure you listen close because we got a great spot for you to go to replenish those calories. Whether you're getting swole at the gym or, walking around the mall, buying a bunch of clothes, or maybe you're just chasing kids or dogs around, or maybe you're sitting at home and in front of your computer, maybe doing some work, and lunchtime's coming up. Segment 1: the good, the bad, and the sinful. So since this is the first episode, I figured that it's only appropriate to start off with my absolute favorite restaurant in the Tampa Bay area. This is my go-to place. I've never had anything bad there. The restaurant is Urban Brew and BBQ. It's located at 1939 Central Avenue in the Central Business District in St. Petersburg, Florida. Roughly, it's on Central. If you're coming from downtown St. Petersburg, it's on Central just before Haslam's on the right. So I know what you're thinking. There's a bunch of barbecue restaurants around. What makes this place special? And to answer that, I like to call this segment the good, the bad, and the sinful. So yeah, I've been listening to some Marty Robbins gunslinger ballads. So that's kind of the inspiration for this week's review segment. So the good is brisket and ribs and beer. Oh my. There are quite a few barbecue spots around. Urban Barbecue, their brisket is absolutely amazing. It's fork tender. It practically falls apart in your mouth. Absolutely delicious. The sauces that you apply are amazing. Like each one is perfectly balanced. It's not too sweet, not too tangy. And they do have a few to choose from, so make sure to explore all those options. Brisket is one of those things that, it is challenging to cook, but to be honest, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of difference between the good briskets around. I mean, there is some bad briskets at some of the barbecue joints to be unnamed, but if you can find good brisket, there's some subtle differences, and Urban definitely hits all of those notes if you're a big brisket fan. But it's not going to change your life or your worldview on brisket. But it is excellent and absolutely recommended. So now the ribs. Now I have to be honest, I am not a big rib guy. I really it's not even a wet or a dry thing, which I'm not going to get into here. Just as a whole, I generally just don't like ribs. I find that the flavor isn't there for me, and it's quite a bit of work to get to the meat. It's a messy proposition, which I'm typically okay with, or it doesn't bother me, but I just don't feel that the reward is there. I know some people love them, and they absolutely won't get anything else other than ribs. But to me, I usually swing more towards the brisket, pulled pork, and sausage if they have that. So all that disclaimer said, the ribs at Urban Barbecue are absolutely mind-blowing, and you would be tremendously foolish if you don't order them. It was the first dish that I ordered my first time at Urban Barbecue, and I looked at my wife and I said, I think these might just be the best ribs I've ever had in my entire life. And just the taste of these ribs explain why so many people like ribs so much. Like, if every rib tasted like these ribs, then I would be a rib guy. But sadly, that's usually not the case. So absolutely get the ribs. So the last part of the good, the beer. So kind of like the ribs, I will drink craft beers. I am not a connoisseur or a beer head or anything like that. I don't really, it does not get me excited to go try craft beers. I don't know. I like beer, don't get me wrong, but I don't try to pursue the new whatever Hoghead Ale Fish IPA brewed with pumpkin hops, or whatever the new thing is. But Urban Barbecue does have a tremendous selection of beers, and each one of them pairs very well with the barbecue. And if you ever have any questions, the staff there is is more than helpful. They've always given me great recommendations. I can't say enough good things about them. All right, so I know what you're thinking, and you're thinking, well, okay, so the meats are awesome, and beer, beer's great. It's kind of like pizza. It's kind of hard to have a bad beer. What about the sides? Because the truth is most barbecue places, they will either be great at meat. The smoke master, pit boss, or whatever he terms himself, he's usually either really good at smoking meat, or he's really good with sides. The good news at Urban Barbecue is they are excellent at both. I've had most of the sides available on the menu there, and they are all crazy good. And just as many of them you can try, do so. But there is one in particular that I do recommend, and that is the collard greens. So I know what you're thinking, and I mean, I am from Florida here. I grew up with collard greens, and I understand where you're coming from. When I was little, I was not so much of a fan of them. Whenever I got into my teenage years, they grew on me a little bit more, and now I absolutely love them. But they're definitely a acquired taste. So I understand that aspect of it. But these collard greens are just like, I don't know. My dad would say they're swallow your tongue delicious. So when you get them, they are like a broadleaf collard green. Sometimes when you get them and they're boiled, they kind of boil down a little bit and become a little bit more stringy. These are definitely not that. These are big broadleaf collard greens. And basically, you put your fork in the collard greens, you pick it up, the juice kind of drips off of it, and you put it in your mouth, and it is an absolute explosion of smoke flavor in your mouth. So the first time that I tried these greens with my wife, the same trip that we had the ribs, I had to ask how exactly these greens were made. And apparently what they do is, they start smoking the meats early in the morning, so it's ready for the day's business. And all of the drippings and fat and everything that drips off of the briskets and, all that good stuff that collects at the bottom of the smoker, they scrape all of that off and put that in the collard greens, and then that's how they cook the collard greens. So yeah, I mean, most people know that you put a ham hock in there, but with this, they put the actual smoked drippings in there, and man, is it good. Man, is it good. All right, so that's the good. That's the good. Moving on to the bad. This bad is not so bad as long as you're aware of it beforehand. It has improved quite a bit here in the last, year or 6 months or something like that. But there was limited seating when they first opened. So it is in the central business district, and anyone who's been down there knows that, the shops are generally small. It's just the nature of the area. So when they opened, they had the bar area, which you could sit at and eat barbecue at. A few high tops around the outside, and then they had outside seating with picnic tables in the back. They have since added on an additional dining area in the space next door, so seating honestly is no longer a problem. If you're thinking about sitting outside though, they did used to have the sun sails, so the sun sail screens suspended over, which supplied shade. But the last time that I was there, which was the end of February 2017, those sails were down, and even though it was February, I mean, it's Florida. We got sunshine, so it got a little toasty. I was in jeans and yeah, I was feeling the heat, so to speak, but it was still bearable. But just keep that in mind when you go. But like I said, if it is warm and sunny outside, and you're hesitant, then they do have plenty of space inside for you to sit. And now, my favorite part, the Sinful. At least in my experience, good desserts are pretty hard to find at barbecue places. I mean, yeah, I know some places have some, but it's not really the main focus. The meats and maybe the sides are the focus when you go to a barbecue place. But it wouldn't be my number one if it didn't have an amazing dessert. So, Urban Barbecue has on their dessert menu a skillet Ghirardelli brownie. And what they do is they take a small cast iron skillet, smaller than personal pan pizza size, like something that you'd find in a gift shop. if Lodge had a gift shop, which, I don't know, maybe they do. Maybe they do. I've never been to their manufacturing plant. So anyway, they take a small, personal-size cast iron skillet. They make a Ghirardelli chocolate brownie inside of it, and then they put vanilla ice cream on top of that. And I know that it sounds very similar to a chocolate lava cake, but it is not a cake, it's a brownie, so it's a lot more denser than a cake. The cast iron also, it has a lot of heat retention, so it keeps the heat and it keeps the brownie at the right temperature, even with the ice cream. So it is amazingly, amazingly delicious. You definitely need to set aside a few hours afterwards so you can fall asleep just from the sheer amount of calories and deliciousness you have just consumed. But 100% absolutely recommended. It'll change your worldview. And if you don't like chocolate, then I feel I'm sorry that your life has come to that point, and you should really reevaluate your life choices. So I'm just kidding, of course. They do have other desserts there that are good, but the number one that I can recommend is the skillet Ghirardelli brownie. All right, so that was Urban Brew and Barbecue, and they are located at 1939 Central Avenue in St. Petersburg, Florida. You can find them. Their website is urbanbrewandbbq.com. They're also on Facebook and a few other social media platforms. Can't recommend them enough, and enjoy. Segment 2, questions. So, of course, this is our first episode. I don't really have any questions from you, so I would like to ask for you to send us your questions, and you can email us at hello, HELLO, at greatthingstv.com. That's hello, HELLO, at greatthingstv.com. You can also ask us questions on Facebook. We do have a Facebook discussion group, and that's a great place to interact with other like-minded individuals like yourself who are looking for great things in Tampa Bay. And we recently had a discussion on the best breakfast spots in the area and had lots of great recommendations. Trips Diner came up a lot in St. Pete, which is my personal favorite. We also had quite a few recommendations for Three Coins and Kissin' Cousins, which the wife and I would love to try solely based on the name alone. We figure that a place that's named like that has to be good, otherwise it would be out of business promptly. And for the people out in Brandon, we also had a recommendation for Recipe Box in Bloomingdale. I have never eaten there, so I can't say yay or nay, but that is what's came up. So please join us and send us your questions. Segment 3, let's get personal. So this is the first episode of Great Things Tampa Bay podcast. So I thought I would just give a little introduction about me and myself, and maybe introduce one or two of the staff on hand that helps out with the podcast. So my name is Kyle Sasser. I'm originally from Dover. If you've been down Interstate 4 and seen the dinosaurs on the side of the road, that's where I grew up. And I've also lived in Lakeland. I lived in Tampa for quite a while. I lived in Brandon, and currently I'm over in Pinellas County, and I live in St. Petersburg. So each one of those places definitely has its pros and cons. But for my current lifestyle, St. Pete is great for it. There's lots of great restaurants. The waterfront's right there. Sailing is close at hand. Yeah, I love it out there. I'm not a professional broadcaster, voiceover expert, or anything like that. Obviously, I mean, you've listened to the podcast so far, and I'm sure you've been able to deduce that. But I'm always working to improve and try to make things better. So if you hear something that you think would improve the podcast, please send me a message, an email, find us on social media. Please let me know. So none of the places featured on this podcast are paid advertising. I don't think we ever will do that on the podcast. If we do, I will definitely make sure to section that off and make that readily apparent. But the places, the restaurants, and other stuff that I'm going to be recommending to you, like that, like basically if we were friends and we met up and basically, you would ask me like, hey, what you been up to, or do you know a good place where I can do X, Y, or Z? This is it's a personal recommendation from me to you. So I don't have a degree in Tampaology and not an aspiring chef or anything like that. I just love great food and great places and great people, and I want to share that with you. So if you do happen to find yourself on our website, we do have a staff page, and you're welcome to go there and take a look at our staff members. I was going to introduce one to you today. Her name is Bijou, and she is our Sergeant of Arms. She keeps everything in line and on task. She is a 11-week-old Pomeranian, chocolate colored, and she is about the most adorable thing you've ever seen, and we're currently in the process of bending to her will. So, in all honesty though, we do love our animals. We have 2 cats and 1 dog. So, my wife always says she wanted to live on a farm, and we are well on our way. My wife and I, we were recently married last year, 2016, and we took a honeymoon to Paris, and lots of dreams coming true on that trip and getting married, and I love her to death. She is also on the staff page, so please feel free to go there and take a look. So let me tell you briefly about why I'm doing this podcast. So mainly there's 3 reasons. One, my wife and I, we love going out and trying new restaurants, new places, going to local events, charity stuff, social gatherings. We love going to the springs, sailing, boating. We love doing all these things, and honestly there is so many things to do around here that I don't think you should ever be bored. There is so much to do around here, and we're always looking and searching for that. So that's one. The second part is we love it when people ask us for recommendations, because we go to these places, and we have opinions on them. Yes, some we like better than others, of course. That's just human nature. But we love sharing our experiences with other people and recommending them places, and then asking them after they have gone if their experience was the same. And we love it whenever somebody goes to one of our favorite spots and they come back to us and they're like, you were absolutely right, that was mind-blowing, and thank you so much for the recommendation. And the third part is I've been wanting to do a podcast for a while. I've been kicking ideas around in my head for a year and a half, and this all finally kind of gelled together. I mean, I know it sounds obvious because you're listening to it, but there's a lot of thought that goes into this. So that's the 3 main reasons I decided to start doing a podcast. One, the wife and I, we love going to restaurants and finding new places. 2, we love sharing experiences with people and giving out recommendations to people and then getting feedback on those recommendations. And then 3, I feel that podcasting and internet video and media is definitely the way of the future, and I thought that this was something that I would be able to bring value to you and help you out, and maybe, just maybe, to introduce you to some places or some things that you might not have been aware of, but now that you do, you're like, man, I cannot wait to go there and try that. Segment 4, things you don't really need to know until you do. You can tell a horse is angry when its ears are pinned back against its head. Beware of bites. Outro. If you're thinking about moving, buying, or selling a home, let's talk. I would love to help you find your own great place in Tampa Bay. You can give me a call at 727-300-2111. That number is 727-300-2111. Or you can send me an email at kyle@sassergroup.com. That's KYLE at Sam Apple, Sam, Edward Robert, George Robert, Oscar, Underground Parachute.com. And you can join us on social media. The easiest way to do that is to go to our website, greatthingstb.com. That's GreatThingsTB.com. There you'll find show notes for all of our episodes, and we also have links to all of our social media. So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. There's also a contact form where you can send us emails directly from the website, and makes it really easy to get in touch with us. If you're looking to find us directly, we are on Facebook at facebook.com/GreatThingsTB. That's GreatThingsTB. Instagram, we are at Instagram.com/GreatThingsTB. We thrive off of your comments, likes, shares, follows, reviews, so please, if you liked any part of this podcast, please share us with your friends, and please come and interact with us on social media. We would love to hear from you. We'd like to hear what you liked, what you didn't like, and you can even ask us what the best waterfront restaurant in Ruskin is. And if you think that is an easy question to answer, then simply say it 3 times fast to yourself. I would personally like to thank you for listening to this podcast. It means a lot to me. We're going to be shooting for bi-weekly releases, the 14th and the 28th of each month. So please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.